Hello. Hello. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? I'm hearing something, but not a lot. Testing. Our tech team is working hard. Can you hear me? It's like being on Zoom. Can you hear me? And here we are in person, and we're saying hello to the people who are online. Good morning. My name is Karina Whitaker-Lewis. My pronouns are she, her, and I serve San Gabriel as your Director of Religious Education. The piano music you just heard is your signal to settle into your seats and prepare for the start of our worship service. Before we begin, I have a few quick announcements. Please be sure to check out your Sunday handout for details on upcoming events and more information. I want to particularly point out that there is a Zoom session for free, six sessions from Transforming Hearts that several of our members have taken and really enjoyed. So you can sign up to do that. They actually filled this session and they are offering another one. So it's extremely popular and I highly recommend. Rev Jamie is leading in January a book club, so to speak, on our Unitarian Universalist Common Read. And they would like for you to read the book first, and then there will be 4 online Zoom sessions to discuss. It's called Mistakes and Miracles, and it's about being in community together in UU congregations. Lastly, I just want to make sure everybody knows that we are having a memorial service, a celebration of life for Clarice Geiger on Saturday, August 26th, here at 11 a.m. with food to follow after that. Let us now begin.
Good morning, and welcome to San Gabriel Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Whether you are here in the sanctuary or online, we are so glad that you've considered joining us and being with us today. My name is Michelle Augustine. My pronouns are she, her, and we recognize that we are standing on the land of the Tonkawa. I've been active in a faith community since I was born. I was raised Catholic. For 40 years, I practiced Presbyterianism. And for about the last 8 or 9 years, I've been journeying through the Unitarian Universalist faith. And I thank you for taking that journey with me, because I'm still learning, I'm still discovering. So I hope you'll continue to help me along that path. I am currently serving as your social justice team leader. If there's anything you want to know about what the team's up to, please check with me. Do know that San Gabriel is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and there are about 1,000 congregations alone just in the United States and all over the world. We're all working together for a very just, peaceful, and sustainable world. Being here in community is just that first step of doing that. It's a very important work that we undertake. And if you would like to know more about us, if you're visiting today, visit our website or we sign up for our electronic newsletter. It'll keep you apprised of things. Please know that whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, you are welcome here. So let us greet this new day in song. We're going to start with our opening hymn. It's called Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. If you'd like to use the hymnals, it's the gray hymnal. It's number 361. Words will also be projected. If you can, rise in body or in your spirit as you are able. Number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Oh, I liked the clapping. We should have kept that going. Yay! Love it. As we light our chalice, we create sacred space together. I call you into this time of connection within, among, and beyond with the words of Reverend Dr. Rebecca Savage. Welcome, sweet soul, to this place of renewal and hope. Here we welcome your tender places and yearnings to be fully present. Welcome, sweet soul, to this place of meaning and belonging. Here we welcome your questions and wonderings on the journey toward wholeness. Welcome, sweet soul, to this place of compassion and heart. Here we welcome you, all of you, and we invite you in as you are, as we are. Here we welcome you to renew your connection to the spirit of life. Renew your relationship to the sacred, the interdependent web of all existence. Welcome, sweet soul. Come, let us worship together. So we are trying something new today. We are going to shorten our worship service so we can offer more time for learning and doing social justice work. Many thanks to our social justice team for coordinating our activities today. Public education is one of the most important threads of this country's social fabric, and it is one of the most embattled. After service today, we invite you to listen and learn from our guest panel, who will be sharing their thoughts on how we can help strengthen public education in our community. We are going to try having a social justice Sunday like this one once a month through December, and then we will revisit. But we will still have a Wonder Box because as your religious educator, I always hope the Wonder Box is a way to deepen our learning from one another. So let me go get that. And if there are any people in the back who want to come forward and make some guesses, I'm going to shake the box. There's no noise at all. There's nothing coming out of the Wonder Box. Do you want to come see what might be in here? Let's see if we can open it up together.
Cotton box.
I didn't ask for guesses. Do people have guesses? Air. Air. Yeah. Thank you for your help with that. What does this make you think of when you see a butterfly? Cooler weather, migration. Change.
Yeah,
Change, transformation, yeah. The importance of pollinators, so true. They do important work. All right, let's see what our Wonder Box story has to do with butterflies maybe today.
Just in Case You Want to Fly, written by Julie Fogliano, illustrated by Christian Robinson. Published by Neil Porter Books. Just in case you want to fly, here's some wind, and here's the sky. Here's a feather, here's up high, and here's a wing from a butterfly. Here's a cherry if you need a snack. And if you get itchy, here's a scratch on the back. Here's a rock to skip and a coin to wish and a fork and a spoon and a cup and a dish. And just in case you want to sing, here's a la 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 and a ding ding ding. Here's a joke if you want to laugh. Bye, son. And here's your toothbrush and your favorite giraffe. Here's a blanket and here's a dream and some kisses on your head. Here's a pillow and here's a song for when you go to bed. And just in case you want to cry, here's a tissue and here's a sigh. Here's an umbrella in case it rains. And some honey for your tea. And here is a map with an X on the spot to find your way home to me. The end.
What did you think of that story? Is there any thoughts on that story for you? You can shout something out if you'd like.
I thought the graphics were a little weird.
Yes. I think they were maybe cutouts. Yeah, from different. I love the illustration. Yeah, they're wonderful. Anything else to come to mind when you hear that story that you want to share? You couldn't figure out the theme. That's all right. That's all right. It means different things to different people, just in case you want to fly. I feel like the main message is one of support, that we see others around us growing, changing, needing new things, and we offer support. The author, Julie Fogliano, explains that the idea for the book came from her 3-year-old putting things in her suitcase when she had to take a trip. Crayons, just in case you need to draw, or tissues, just in case you need to cry. And I found that so touching, just a wonderful expression of care and concern for a child to be thinking about what her mother might need. And as we begin another season of learning, as many children go back to school, we here at San Gabriel can offer a gesture of support as a community in a faithful way with our annual blessing of the backpacks. So as we come together for this ritual, I invite you to hold your backpack in your lap, if you have one, or your hands, or maybe just in your thoughts. And of course, by backpack, what I really mean is your backpack, or a gym bag, or a lunchbox, or a briefcase, or a purse, or even a cell phone. Does everybody have one of those with them today? Because this ritual is not just for those who carry backpacks, but for each and every one of us. Inside your backpack, you keep your supplies, textbooks to read, paper to write on, pencils to write with, index cards for notes, folders to keep important handouts that you're supposed to give to your parents, and a bunch more things. All of these things are tools, and we all use tools every day that make our lives easier. And these are the things that are in our backpacks and our bags and in our cell phones, because our cell phones do a lot for us now, don't they? But just as much as we need tools, I think there's something even more important. When we leave today with these things that help us in our everyday lives, we might think that we'll be going out there on our own, to school or to work or to wherever we're heading. But we are not. One of the blessings of being part of a church community is that we are reminded that we are not alone. We are reminded that we are connected to so many people that in fact we are surrounded by love. We are reminded that when we make our decisions about how we will act, we do what we do for the love of all people. And we are reminded that the love of all people includes each one of us. Transformation is easier and, yes, more fun when we support each other with joy and love. All right, so are we ready to bless these backpacks or these bags, these tools, whatever helps you learn? If you don't have it with you, just pretend you've got it with you. All right, here we go. At San Gabriel, we lift up the wondering mind, the seeker, growth, and change. We all live in a school of life, but right now, especially many of us begin a new season of learning. Learning can be easier with the right tools. We bless the backpacks and bags, phones and computers, crayons, paper, and pencils you use every day and may have brought with you today. May they be good friends and helpers to you as you learn, and may our love for you give you courage and strength in your learning. May you stay safe as you learn. Love be with you this day and every day. Amen. May it be so. In a few moments, we will pass our offering plate. And so please be sure to take a chalice button from the plate so you can have a little reminder of our love, of the love that holds all of us, to put on your backpack or your bag. All right, so let's pause here and take a moment for reflection on this, on how we, as you use, help and support one another. Take a deep breath. How can we support each other in deepening our learning and transformation, loving one another all the more? Certainly one way is by listening to each other, as we do in our sharing of joys and gratitudes, concerns and sorrows. So we'll settle into our seats and give each other the gift of attention. Now is a time for sharing how you are feeling, what is on your heart, what joys or gratitude you want to lift up, what pain or concern you want to ease through sharing. We can create a circle of caring together. And I hope we have a microphone that we can pass around. Is it in the podium here? Michelle, do you mind doing the honors?
Is there a joy or concern anybody would like to lift up today? Pat?
Good morning. I'm Pat. My concern is for the people in Hawaii, not just on the island of Maui, but there are also fires burning on the Big Island and possibly on other islands as well. I'm not sure how to help people yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. We talked to our son who lived in Hawaii for almost 20 years, and all his friends and former coworkers are all safe. But it's, people have lost just, there's nothing. So it's a big concern.
Do let us know if you find something, Pat, or maybe the American Red Cross. Someone else care to share a joy or concern or a thought? Clara?
I'm Clara Dugan. I have a joy about Ohio. Thank you, Ohio.
OHIO. Someone else. Thank you. Good morning.
Hi there. My name is Kelly. Kelly, and I'm just grateful to be here with all of you. Thank you.
We're grateful you chose us today. Thanks. Someone else? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Smith. I'm a board president. I also happen to be a Wagner parent for one more year. And I want to just say thank you so much for your contributions in helping out Wagner Middle School. Let's remember this is a Title I school, and they can use all the help they can get. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for being our president. Somebody else. Joe? Joe?
I would like to express our concern. We have a bunch of prisons in this state that are not air conditioned, and the temperatures are going up above 120 degrees. It's torture, and the legislature chose not to act on it this year. They chose to give us a tax break instead.
Thank you, Joe, for bringing that to our attention. That some of us have discussed that. We're not sure what to do about that, and it isn't just the prisoners. There are workers involved as well, and it just seems like a very inhumane thing to be doing. Who worked on our air conditioning units? John Shaw. Who else? Anything you want to say about that, John? Would you like to lift up that joy?
I want to point out that Michelle and Lou were here randomly when the guy showed up, and so they also worked on the air conditioner. So thank you. And also to Frank and Walt. And I want to say there's I guess it's a joy. When I was on the phone with the receptionist at the air conditioner company, she had a medical emergency and had to go to the ER. And she came back. I found out she came back just fine, and she got help, the help she needed, and she's okay. So that was, it put a kind of a strange personal twist on the whole bizarre affair. But she's better now, and we're all happy for it.
Well, thank you. We are very grateful for air conditioning. Yes, ma'am. Here I come. Here you go, darling.
I have a concern for my husband of 60 years who I just placed in memory care on Friday, and a joy that my two daughters were here for a week to help me with the ordeal.
Yeah, that's hard. That's very hard. And where is he? Where'd you place him in? Autumn Leaves, and what's his name? Bo. Bo? We'll be thinking of Bo this week. Thank you. Anyone else? You're awfully quiet.
I have a joy and a concern on this day where we're recognizing the beginning of a school year. The joy is for those teachers who feel still called to the profession, who show up every day through the school year to face all of the challenges, demands that classrooms present and that teachers try to fulfill. And we have two children who are teachers, and we understand the pressures and the stress that goes with those jobs. And I heard this morning that nationally, we're losing more and more teachers every year because of those demands and pressures. So that's my concern, and that we find ways to support public education in this country.
Thank you. Karina, anyone else?
All right, so let's take a deep cleansing breath and exhale. We grieve for our planet and we redouble our effort to protect it as we hear of heat in horrible places that are torturing people, fires that are killing people and displacing people. We hold in our hearts those who are going through life transitions along with their life partners. And we lift up teachers and educators and parents and families and all who support our learning. I will mention a blessing with the Black community for the folded chair. And if you need to know what that is, come see me about it. For joys shared, we join together in celebration. And for the sorrows and concerns, we feel empathy and compassion. For all that remains unspoken, may the caring of the community offer a deep space of deep kindness and care. I also want to mention there's a person in the back celebrating a birthday today. Our wonderful Mr. Spoon, who's having a good time with his kids in the back. And we have a little bit of birthday cake for him. All right. Michelle is now going to share with us about our offering today.
Should I turn this off, Karina? I think we turned it off. Okay. It doesn't sound good. Yes, as a meditation on our joys and sorrows that we just heard, we're going to sing hymn number 1020, Woyoya. It's in the little teal hymnal. So, sorry, no, it's okay. Jackie is going to play that through these lyrics here. So she's going to play the music through to familiarize you with the music, and then we'll lead you into actually singing the entire piece. So if you're ready, Jackie, please. Pardon me? There we go. Thank you for trying that with us today. We know you're going to get there. We'll do it again. So, a couple of the backpacks presented today that we have blessed are going to go to the Wagner Middle School for children who need them. Wagner Middle School is named after George Wagner, who was a longtime member of San Gabriel and an amazing mentor to students. He mentored 40 students over 18 years. So in honor of him today, the collection will be donated to the middle school. We learned from the nutritionist director there that about 120 students had school lunch debt at the end of the year that totaled about $921. Several students had debt of about $72 each. So due to other donations and other means, last year's debt has been paid off. However, your social justice team recognizes that this economic difficulty will occur again, and they've elected to allocate some of its social justice budget towards this fund. And we're happy to say that we can follow in George's footsteps a little bit and help the kids there at the school that is named after him. Now we're calling this Share the Plate offering. And you're probably thinking, what is Share the Plate? So, as the baskets are passed today, any loose dollars, any loose coins will go towards sharing the plate, in this case with the George Wagner Middle School. There are envelopes in some of the back pockets, seat pockets. If you'd like to use them, you can do so. You're also welcome to make checks out and in the memo line put for the Wagner School. And we will collect those during the month of August, okay? So today's not your only opportunity. But in any event, we appreciate your support for this very important economic and education justice issue. For our offering piece, I think Jackie has selected something from Dances with the Wolves, so enjoy that. And again, your generous donations will now gratefully be received, and you need to say something, please do so. Oh yes, in the baskets as that offering is placed, do take out one of the little chalice buttons for your blessing today. And I'll talk about that survey in a minute. Michelle? Yes?
The mascot is the Wagner Wolves.
That's why you picked it? I don't know if you heard it. I'm so sorry, I get excited about little things. I wonder why you switch. So the mascot for the Wagner School is the Wagner Wolves, hence why Jackie selected something from Dances with the Wolves. We're coming to a close here of our service. And as we close our sacred time together, we extinguish our chalice. We may extinguish this flame, but not the chalice that resides in your heart, which serves as a beacon of hope. Emboldened by its blaze, we are reminded that our strength as prophetic and powerful people is found when we come together. When we come together here at San Gabriel, which is in Georgetown, to stay, no matter what may come our way. All righty, we just want to do a quick review of our announcements. And if you notice, the social justice team is meeting this Tuesday night. All are welcome to attend, whether you're a member of the team or not, if you just want to know more or you have some ideas that you'd like to share with us. So please look at how to contact the social justice team. There's a drumming session coming up, which could be very interesting and fun, I'm sure. The Little Food Pantry needs your help. I've been talking to the Caring Place. Canned goods are very hard to come by for a lot of us who are trying to help feed those in our community. So if you have any extra canned goods to share with our little pantry, we certainly do welcome your help on that. Frank, where's Frank Dunaway? Frank, did you have a chance to pass out surveys? Did you? All right. I'm going to do that next. So your social justice team would love to hear from you. Which social justice issues should be our top 3 priorities? So the survey that you're receiving now will give you a good idea of all the issues that we've addressed in the past year, some of the activities that we engaged in around those particular issues, and we'd like you to help us figure out what should be the top 3. We will still address, educate, raise awareness on the other issues, but where do you want us to put our emphasis in this next coming year? And then there's a place for you if you'd like to engage in one of those activities. So I hope that you'll take a moment to fill out the survey. We'll have them during the month of August. There's a couple ways you can turn them in. Either the offertory basket, there's a red box on the table in the back. Anytime you see somebody with a social justice side of love shirt, hand it to them. So we really look forward to hearing from you on that. I do want to thank, there are so many people involved in different avenues in our church, whether it be hospitality, our tech team, our welcome and membership table. So if you take a look on the bulletin board in the main hallway, there's a list of all the various folks who are engaged in our community, helping our church run. And so if you ever want to know who's who on which team, or maybe something you'd like to know more about, check out that list. We'd love to have you join us in any event, on any team, even if it's a little bit here or future down the road. So thank you. You heard Karina say that we're trying something different. We're being disruptive in a good way by having these social justice Sundays, a shortened service, and we will invite speakers to come and chat with us. So today's our first experiment with that. We want to thank Stephanie and Charlotte for helping us gauge how this might work. The idea of trying to do this is to educate us on different issues, raise our awareness, stimulate us to take action, or show us how we can be in allyship with others in our community. So if you're ready to give it a try, we're going to transition now to our first chat session, which is focusing on education. We realize in our community here, some are in the Jarrell ISD school district and others, and so there is information out on the bulletin board affecting Jarrell, but today we're focusing on Georgetown as our church resides in that school district. Our team has asked Lou to moderate this session because Lou has actually been working very closely with Charlotte and Stephanie over the last 4 or 5 years at least through Courageous Conversations. I also want to let you know, you can go grab coffee and a snack and come on back in. We know this is normally your time to get a little break. So feel free at any time, grab a snack, come on back in. Thank you very much for sticking around and listening, and thank you, guests.
All right, we're going to begin this morning as Michelle said, we have two really good people to help us understand what's going on in public education in the Georgetown Independent School District. Most of us know Stephanie Blanck. Stephanie had a 30-plus year career working within GISD and did a lot of work in at the end with administration, was even an interim principal at one of the schools.
Well, that was after I retired.
Yeah. So she's been involved. Now, Stephanie, many of us celebrated recently, was reelected for her second term serving on the Board of Trustees for the Georgetown Independent School District. So she knows intimately the workings of our local school district. Charlotte Paramore is here too. Charlotte spent her career working in state education, setting curriculum standards and evaluating those kinds of things.
Well, I was a public school educator for 35 years.
And an educator for 35 years. So they both know what the demands and challenges are in classrooms in public education. We wanted to let this be a learning experience for many of us here. Some of us have been out of school for a long time, and some of us don't have children in the public school system locally. And so we probably don't have as familiar understanding of the schools and school districts as parents do. So we wanted to make sure that we all had some better understanding of what's going on within our own local public school. As all of you, I hope, know, public education in Texas is a complicated issue, and it's gotten terribly politicized in the last several decades. So we wanted to ask Stephanie and Charlotte to help unpack some of the issues that we think that every citizen in Georgetown needs to know and understand about the Georgetown Independent School District and public education. So I've got some questions to ask them, but they've already came prepared. They got a lot of information to share. We're going to try to do this within the next 30 to 40 minutes. So we're going to move through this pretty rapidly. We hope to have a little time at the end for some questions if you have any. So Stephanie, we're going to start with you.
All right, do you have the PowerPoint up? Hello, boys. Oh, there it is. All right. So I'm not one that sits and talks. I'm a wanderer. So what I want to start with is the demographics, this way, of Georgetown. How many of you have lived in Georgetown for more than 10 years? Raise your hand. More than 15? More than 20? More than 30? All right, so I'm the old timer in this room. So look at this. I started working in moved to Georgetown in 1980. I tried to pull up the demographics of Georgetown as well as Georgetown ISD. The ISD is at the top, and Georgetown is down at the bottom with the census. What do you see has changed over the years, demographically? It's growing.
What's eco-dis?
Economically disadvantaged. Great question. Economically disadvantaged just means this, because you will hear this a lot. It means that for the number of mom and dad are working, they've got kids in the school. For their number of people that live in their house, how much money do they bring in? The federal government sets a standard every year. If you make below a certain amount, you could get reduced fees for the lunch. If you make below another set amount, you could get free lunch. Now, if I had known about this when I was a young school psychologist back in 1980, I probably should have applied for it. But I'll tell you what eco-dis does not mean. Uneducated, not working. That's not what it means. My daughter and son-in-law, they're no longer considered eco-dis, but they both have master's degrees, but one was an educator and one was working as an entrepreneur. They have 3 boys. So they qualified for reduced lunch. So that's what EcoDis means, okay? So you will see, if you look at the EcoDis, it kind of started going up. Now Georgetown is getting to be less affordable to live in, so that may be going down. But what do you see about our ethnic breakdowns? Actually, at the last time that we had the data was at the end of last school year, 42% white, 44% Hispanic. And all through my years working in the district, and I worked in the district from '86 to 2009, that is the big growth time. We went from 1986, we opened up Frost Elementary. By the time I retired, which was the 5th elementary, now we have 10 elementaries. We used to have 1 junior high, 1 high school. Now we have 4 middle schools, Wagner being one of them, and basically 3 high schools if we consider Richarte. And Richarte is not a disciplinary high school, it is a for-application alternative high school. Great education, kids are just ready to get on with their life. All right, so moving on. This is as of May 24th, the end of the school year last year. You will see on the left side all the elementary schools. You will see how large they are. I keep asking for Wolf Ranch to please get an aid for the poor librarian. Could you imagine having this many kids in an elementary school and you have to reshelve all those books and no help? But look demographically, EcoDis is very different. Depending on the school, you have the east side and you have the west side. Frost is sort of an outlier right now. You also see different ethnicity groups, very different at all the different schools. But overall, we are a 42% EcoDis at the end of the year. And those students, their parents are working hard to put food on the table. So they may not have the resources for after-school care, tutoring, helping their kids with their homework, that sort of thing. All right. So, why the heck did I run for school board? This is why. When I retired in 2009, and I was a director of special education for 15 years, we were at the top of Region 13. We had one of the best education systems in the state. Of course, I happily retired, went about my life, my business, and everyone would always ask me, you need to run for school board, and I'd say no. And then in 2019, they got my attention. Both my children grew up here. They went to school here. I now have 3 grandboys in the district. And my son-in-law was actually employed in the district. He now works for Gerald ISD building their career technology programs. But I'm going to walk over here because I started putting our data, I am a data geek, and I started putting it into charts. And I handed this to the school board back in 2019. And you can see our data from 2014. And these grade levels that I picked, those were the grade levels of my grandsons at the time I did a presentation. But as you could see, now it's a different group as you go across from right to left. But you see the data continually starts moving downward toward 2019. Now what happened in 2020? COVID, so it was shut down. So I didn't have that, I didn't have these 2. I had these 3. And it continually went down. One of the points is the 8th graders down here in 2019 is the same group that were 3rd graders in 2014. Because I believe in comparing apples with apples. So as you can see, the staff and the community got my attention. And it was September of 2019, I addressed the school board, and I said, this is not working. Here's the data. Little did I know at the time that Jen Malden, who is also a retired administrator, she showed up with a different chart. And Eric Robinson, who's a professor at Baylor University, showed up with another different chart. We didn't know each other was all going to show up at the same meeting and share data with the school board. And just so you know, before I got on the board, data was never shared. Not with the board, not with the community, because it didn't look good. All right, so the last time we had an accountability system in 2022 at the end of the year, our campuses were rated. Now, let me tell you, in 2019, when I decided to run, we had 6 D and F schools. If your kids came home with D's and F's on their report card, how would you feel about that? Not too good, huh? Well, it was the exact same when our schools are doing the exact same thing. I have to say, the state has given all the districts a little bit of grace because of COVID, right? Kids are out of school, in and out. Teachers are in and out, sick, not sick, quarantine. So they did give a little grace, but an NR means not rated. Not rated also means failing. So where is our namesake little school? Wagner. Wagner has never done well since it opened up. This district, and Charlotte will attest to this, has never been transparent as to what are you doing to figure out why. Now, I have to say, the previous administration we had in the district for the last 9 years, he felt like, and he says that it was the direction of the board at the time, to don't worry about the curriculum, don't worry about the state testing, don't worry. Every teacher became an entity unto their own. So they had no, those of you who have an education background, they had no scope and sequence. They had to develop everything on their own, and that's why our data was going down. Come in 2020, 2021, they started rebuilding it. Why? Because we, the community, started complaining and screaming and yelling. When you look at this relative performance, this section takes, let's say, Village, which has eco-disc of 41% at the time, and compares the Village with similar schools in the state, similar size, similar demographic. We don't have, except for our high schools, any schools that looked good compared to their sister schools in the state. So it doesn't matter how you feel about the state accountability system or about the STAR test, but federal and state dollars are tied to those, as well as oversight. Now, I have to say, the state, since decades ago, have had a state curriculum. This is what you have to teach. How you teach it is up to you. What resources you use, kind of within your purview as well. But what is tested on the state test is what is taught. It's not like we're going to teach you this, but we're going to test you on that. And actually, this last year, it became a little bit more authentic. So some of these schools are not looking really good. Student achievement, they're looking at overall, are your kids doing better? Student progress, did Stephanie Blanck, who did X last year, did she do better this year? And like I said, I've got 3 grandboys in the district. I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about the other 13,000. So this is, if you're in high school, the STAR test is called end of course. And it's in algebra, biology, English 1, 2, and U.S. history. Now here's the caveat, and I just came from another 9-hour training. Approaches was added to, used to be you either met the standard, you exceeded the standard, or you did not meet. Well, the state added approaches. And approaches means you're not on grade level, but you're getting there. So we think that next year you're going to be on grade level. So if we look at this, this is how we did in 2019 on the end of course, and I do not look at approaches. I look at meets. And if you, these all do not add up to 100, so don't try. What does add up to 100 is take 100 minus the 62 when we look at algebra meets. What's that answer? 38% did not meet. So my focus is on whether it's elementary or end of course or middle school, how many were below the expectation. And here is our results now, and to be honest with you, our results are not that much different than the state. Obviously, the U.S. history test, 95% were at approaches, but that means that 29% did not meet. The masters are obviously the kids that get almost a perfect score. And if we compare our data with the state, we're not that different. But remember, when these kiddos were in 3rd and 4th grade, they had really good teachers and really good curriculum. All right, so I broke it down by high schools, how they did in the different end of course tests. And you can see, except for U.S. history, and I'm focusing again on meets, not the approaches, the meets. Georgetown High School seems to do somewhat better than Eastview. So the question would be, as a school board member, and this again is reinforced every time I go to a training, but our previous board was not getting it. Our responsibility is the academic success of our students and them being prepared for the next level of life. By ignoring the data, we're not doing what we are called to do. So that is why this data is important to me and why they think I'm being so negative all the time, because I'm bringing out my own charts to these meetings. The good news is, and I'll talk about this as well as Charlotte, is we have a brand spanking new superintendent, and he's very data driven. So he told me I would not have to do any PIRs anymore for public information requests for me to be able to get the data. So there should be some analysis going on in what exactly, because you know the schools don't just get this. They know exactly what elements the students are failing. So what do we need to do to reinforce that? And if the kids, they've got to pass these in order to graduate. And I've had other board members tell me, nobody asks for people's STAR scores. And I said, well, yeah, they do. It's called a diploma. So it's very important that we fill in the gaps. So there's something in the district called MAPS. And for the life of me, I can't remember what MAPS means, but it's sort of like a curriculum-based assessment. And it gives the teachers an idea of, okay, we have taught this. Now we're at the middle of the year or the end of the year. Let's assess how well we taught the kids these skills. And those elements are tied to the state curriculum as well. So this supposedly is a predictor of how they will do on the STAR test. Anything you see in red, or what should be red, means that 40% or more are predicted to not meet standard. That's not good. When you have half your kids, and this is just math, I didn't even put up the reading one. When you have 53% at Frost, 5th grade math, not meeting standard on a MAPS test, that's over half the kids in the 5th grade. And Frost, I have to give kudos to the administration over there. They really have beefed up what they were doing. Tamara Marbibi was the principal there for the last several years, and it is a very high, low economic status school, tiny, but she made a lot of progress. So I'm hoping this is not right for their STAR scores. And they have a new principal this year. She was the assistant principal last year. Yeah.
Can you explain that we don't have the star data in on the elementary?
Okay, yeah, we don't have I don't have it. It actually came to the district a few days ago, so they have it. It hasn't been released publicly. Any data that I get and put in these charts, I can usually get from the state TEA website, Texas Education Agency. But I did get the overall 3rd, 4th, 5th reading math just the other day. And that shows you the transparency of our new superintendent, because this would not have been sent to us on Friday under the previous administration. So I gave him a kudos, thank you for a peek. Doesn't look that great, I have to admit. However, it's not that the state doesn't look great. You know, the kids were out of school for so long, they missed so much. So again, this is end of the year math maps predictions, and we have a lot of work to do. This is the middle school, so let's look, where's Wagner? 6th, 7th, 8th, and again, this is only 30% or more not meeting standard. 8th grade looks horrible. Wagner across the board needs our help. So if you can volunteer over there under the new administration, I think the doors are going to be open again. They didn't even like me to be on a campus. All right, you asked about, so what is the next level for kids? The state accountability system is focusing not just on how they're doing on the state test. Though I grew up in New York and we had state tests, and I could not graduate from high school without passing all the state regents exams. So now they're looking at what we call, and we educators have our own language, CCMR, college, career, military readiness. So the schools are reinforced for offering coherent course sequences that either lead a student toward a certification, ready to go to college, or ready to go into the military. So there's criteria for each. And there's industry-based certifications that kids can get. Nowadays, they can sign up for what's called on-ramps or dual credit and actually start their college career with already an associate's degree. I mean, the options out there are endless when you're in a bigger district like Georgetown. So here are some of our career pathways, and under each one of these is a whole bunch of other things. It's amazing. My son graduated in 04, and 03, 04 was the first year we had ROTC. Now it is huge, and he was in ROTC. Health science, my daughter graduated in 1998. She was already a certified nurse's assistant, and she was fully prepared to take the EMT test, but she wasn't old enough to. And then she went off to college, so she never took it. So here are some of the programs underneath ag. Hospitality. I don't know if you know about our Eastview culinary teacher, but chef over there, she had the #1 student in the nation a couple years ago, and last year she had the #2 student. So we have some amazing programs. You can see under health science and transportation. And typically the district focused their PR on this stuff and not what was going on at the elementary and the middle school. So it was sort of like, don't look at the data behind the curtain. Let's focus on the kids who are flying a drone, which is only a couple kids, right? And even the ones that build an airplane that you would hear about all the time, that's 12 to 15 kids with about 100 volunteers from Sun City, and it was a Lego kit. So, you know, let's be real. Then we have careers in the military, and this is monitored by the state a year later. This one was very difficult for the state to monitor because usually a year later the armed forces will let you know who has enrolled or enlisted. This is us. We're at a groundbreaking for a new San Gabriel Elementary School way out in Santa Rita, and our brand new a brand new Benold Middle School is also way out on Ronald Reagan. So it's not on Lakeway anymore. That's a long way away, I'm going to tell you. And to be honest with you, I don't think we really needed this in the last bond. So if any of you would like to be on citizens advisory councils, I think we're really going to have good representation from now on instead of the same old, same old, same old people. This is our new superintendent, Dr. Devin Padaville, and I've already apologized to him if I send him a weird text. He spells his name wrong, but my daughter's name is Devin, with an O. So if I send you a weird text, it really was meant for her. But he went from our second interview with him and her, and then they flew to Cabo the next day and had their wedding. So he totally rechanged his whole life so he could go through this interview. That's his son and daughter. His daughter will be starting A&M in the fall. His son is a sophomore. Now this is his new wife. His former wife, they actually taught here. His kids went to our Eagle Wings, which is the preschool program that takes care of teachers' kids. So he has history, and I think Charlotte is going to tell you more about him. But he has been absolutely outstanding, wonderful, open. So I really feel like a new day is dawning. But I want to encourage you, even though you don't have students in the school, you are paying tax dollars. And I don't know if you understand, but $54 million of our tax dollars is going to the state. It's not staying with us here in Georgetown to give our teachers raises, to give that librarian an aid. It's going to the state, and they have, what, over $1 billion in their rainy day?
Well, they've got $33 billion.
Yeah, and they refuse, they did not vote this last time, to give us more money per head, per student, or for teacher raises. And they're sitting on that. Why? Because they, and now I'm on a soapbox, they want to pass vouchers. I didn't pay my taxes so that this already private student, the parents can afford the tuition, so they can get $8,000 to offset the tuition to a private school. Private school has no accountability, none. Charters are like public schools, but private schools have none. So please stay informed. The next election for school board will be Jen, who again is that former school principal, and Stephen Benold, whose father that middle school is named after, and Doug Benold was instrumental in the desegregation of our schools back in the 70s. And they had the Committee for Good Schools to make sure that there was equity. So I'm going to turn it over now to Miss Charlotte. And Miss Charlotte, point your thing at them in the back, like your zap, zap.
All right. This mic doesn't work.
Here, just use this one.
All right. Hello. Okay. Okay, I'm here to talk with you about RISE, or RISE GISD, to explain a little bit about it and how we formed, why we formed, and what we've been doing, and how this relates to the Georgetown schools and to Stephanie and other people that, that are involved in this process. RISE, what is RISE, first of all? It stands for
Realize Improvement in Scholastic Excellence. And this was the name that was developed, or the acronym for this new committee that was formed back in 2020. Now, earlier, Stephanie talked about the fact that because of a lack of transparency in this district, people were not getting the information about our public schools in Georgetown and how they were performing. As of 2014, these schools were at the top of the heap and were demonstration schools for Region 13 Service Center to come and look to see what great things are going on in Georgetown. So we were riding on that reputation and that precedent until around 2019, and the state began sending out this information, and people like Stephanie, Jen Malden, and others of us who had joined Courageous Conversation to have discussions about what's going on. We're getting these state performance reports that say we are failing that miserably in Georgetown, and there was a clear pattern of a decline in performance, as you saw in her chart, and the trend was going straight down. So what happened was, in 2019, a group of us got together to just have a meeting and talk about this. Stephanie was there, Jen Malden, others from Courageous Conversations, because this was a social justice issue. What we saw was that all children were not receiving a good education in Georgetown. Further, the gaps between white children and other student populations was growing, and we saw that poor and minority children were scoring very poorly. So whereas prior to that, there was almost no gap in the performance of all of our different student groups, now we were faced with an ever-widening gap. And so this was a social justice issue. It was an equity issue, and we were terribly alarmed by it. So we began talking to the board. We began asking for attention to this matter, and the response that we got was, "We're not going there. We don't share. We don't worry about data. We want our teachers to be able to do what they know how to do, which is teach." There was no attention to data in terms of analyzing where our weaknesses were and where our strengths were. And we know that in high-performing school districts, especially those that have high levels of racially diverse populations and poor children, pay a great deal of attention to the performance gaps, to the performance of all children, and they make careful plans based on those weaknesses and strengths, and they monitor the progress of their children. And those districts have rich curriculums and resources and make sure that we are sending the help that is needed to those children who need it most. So, as a result of this, the fact that we were reaching out, Stephanie met with the board, Ron Swain met with the board, Jen met with the board, Eric Robinson met, but we were not getting a response that we wanted to hear. And so we realized then, as a group, that the quickest path to justice and to turn this ship around was to target the leadership, the governance of the district. And so we determined that we would work as a group, we would form a committee that was separate from Courageous Conversations because they cannot involve themselves in political activities. So we created a committee, and we named it RISE. And our goal was to identify knowledgeable, passionate, committed people and who were skilled leaders and who were committed to changing the course of this decline. And we wanted board members who would be responsive to the needs of all children, not just their children. We used data. Stephanie went into great detail about the data. So you saw the data that was important. We had those declining scores. We looked at the data that was disaggregated. That means the data was pulled apart so that we could look at each individual student group and how they were performing instead of just averaging it all together, which makes everything look a little bit better if you just average it. So we wanted to look at it, each group in isolation. And when we did that, we saw those significant gaps. Then we also looked at what is called Smart School data, which is a consortium that actually looks at the data in relationship to how much the school district is spending per student, or for each student annually. And so when we looked at that comparison of all the districts in this area, what we found was we were getting in Georgetown a very low rate of return. In other words, we had a very low performance and very high expenditures for our per pupils student spending or whatever. Anyway, so compared with our fiscal peers, we were doing a very, very poor job. Another thing that we noticed was through the FAST report, which is a report attached to our accountability report that we get annually. What we saw was that teachers were leaving. A lot of central office people were leaving because we found that we weren't paying our teachers well, and so our salaries were not competitive with those around us. And also because we weren't doing things that helped us achieve success, a lot of central office administrators were leaving because they didn't want to go down with a sinking ship, is what it amounted to. So all of these kinds of factors helped us identify the areas of focus for us as a committee, and also the things that we needed to be saying to the school district and to the community to say, wake up, this is what's happening, and you haven't been informed, and we all need to get involved in trying to support a change at the board level so that because the board is the governance body who instructs the superintendent what to do, and they hire and fire the superintendent, and they are the ones that can change the direction of the district. So how well have we done, or what have we done since RISE was formed? Well, in the last 3 years, each year we looked for really great candidates. And our first was Stephanie and Eric in 2020. And as we know, Stephanie was elected. In 2021, Jen Malden and Stephen Benold were elected. And then in 2023, Stephanie was reelected. In 2022, we bombed. There were 3 wonderful candidates, but statewide, you may have heard about the board elections were impacted by a lot of political divide. And we have maintained a very non-partisan, moral, ethical approach to electing candidates. And a school board candidate is not a political position. It is a position that is dedicated to being a compassionate leader who is concerned about the welfare of all children. And it doesn't matter whether you're Democrat, Republican, or whatever. So we avoided those kinds of labels. We also, as RISE, so we've had a history of success in electing very, very skilled and excellent, knowledgeable board members. And what we've seen as a result of electing 3 people, although it's a 7-member board, so we haven't always been able to, we haven't been able to overcome, we didn't have a majority on the board. So we face some issues sometimes. But because of the influence of these really strong board members, we've seen a great change in the culture and the focus of the board. And we have identified candidates who are focused on very specific goals, holding district and campuses accountable for meeting state standards. We want to compensate teachers fairly, so there has been an influence to ensure that that happens. We are focused on safety and health. We, as a group, have been seeking partnerships with others, and transparency, and community engagement, so that we're involving the community in decision making, and then ensuring that all students have access to high quality curriculum, programs, etc. And then finally, directing resources to campuses where they need it the most, such as Wagner. Now, what has happened this year is that right after Stephanie was reelected, we received the resignation of Fred Brent, which meant that we had to seek a new superintendent. The influence of our 3 board members and also the change in the culture and decision making of the board helped result in a decision to seek a search firm to help us select a new superintendent. And then what was the most wonderful outcome of that was that the community became involved in identifying the kind of superintendent we wanted. These are the kinds of attributes that were identified based on surveys that were conducted throughout the district and interviews with the board members and with the staff. So we were looking for a kind, empathetic person who was who expected to establish high expectations for student performance, guidance, who was an instructional leader, who had a deep understanding of best practices in instruction, who was collegial, transparent, all of these things that you see listed. Now, I'm making available to you electronically a couple of things. There is the resume for the person that we selected, and also an entry plan. And but we're not going to go over those. But what we do know is that this person who was finally selected Between May 1st and July 17th, the board engaged in a process of interviewing and selecting a lone finalist who then was identified as the new superintendent. If you'll look at his resume, it is astounding to see the excellent record he has of achievement, both as a teacher, as a high school principal of in 2 different districts, and those schools became nationally acknowledged or awarded because of their performance. He's been a superintendent in 1 district, but he has had experience at the district level and has demonstrated all the qualities that we want to see in a superintendent. So we're very pleased to have him.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Stephanie. I think you got an overview. I think the 2 questions that we still want to address to Stephanie and Charlotte from their work closely in the district. The questions would be, what do you see as the 1, 2, or 3 of the most significant challenges still facing GISD? And secondly, what do you think our congregation can do to support the efforts in public education?
Well, I, for one, am a Reading Connection volunteer, and I did that all of last year, and you're just 15 minutes per kid. You get 2 kids, 1 at a time, and they're usually 2nd, 3rd graders, and you're reading with them. I highly recommend we all get involved in that. Pick a campus of your choice, because one of our #1 things is our kids can't read. Reading and doing math. Think of the kids who are in 3rd grade now who were kindergartners, 1st graders during the time of COVID. They didn't get the direct instruction. They didn't get the face-to-face time. So that is our #1, is academically. Behavior is a big thing. They've also been out of school doing their own thing. And so we need to be a social-emotional learning district does not mean you make excuses for negative behavior. Understanding where a behavior is coming from is totally different. If you can understand where this negative behavior is coming from, then you develop a plan around it. But then again, I'm a psychologist, so for me this is easy. And that is probably why one of those 2 little boys that was given to me at Frost last year, he had a whole lot of trauma in his life. So I really think I was there more as a psychologist than a reading volunteer. And then the third thing that we are definitely have to work on is attendance. You know, we had someone who would gather the attendance, but nobody was going door to door. And back in my day, even when I was pulled out of retirement, if somebody wasn't coming to school, I was knocking on doors, and this ties into money. We get money from the state for ADA, average daily attendance, not butts and seats, which we tried to get them to understand that our fluidity during the year, you got kids moving in and moving out, moving in, moving out. It should be based on how many kids are enrolled at any given day, not who's in it there. So again, those to me, and Clara, you had a question?
Yeah, can you go to a little specifics on the Reading Connection group? Where do you apply?
You go online to the Georgetown ISD, is looking for volunteer. You have to do a background check, obviously, and you're happy to know that I passed recently. They didn't hold last year against me. And you'll get an email from the district, and that's one of the things that, where do you want to volunteer? How do you want to volunteer? And if you put reading, they'll connect you with the Reading Connection. And every campus has a Reading Connection contact. And I highly recommend it, because total, it would be half an hour out of your time on any one campus. I was usually there an hour, hour and a half. You know, I would do lesson plans, you know, the whole 9 yards. Do you want to add?
Just that I would encourage you to pay attention to what's going on in the district, to watch for articles in the Sun or in other, you know, Stephanie has a Facebook page. We had for school board. Jen has a Facebook page. And so we post a lot of information. And so be aware of what's happening in the district. When they publicize the test scores, take a look and see how well our kids are doing. Attend board meetings if you can, because they're very instructive. You can also watch them from home. If you'll go to the school district's website, you can go back and either watch them live or recorded recordings of the workshops or the board meetings, so that you're a more informed voter and so that you're a more informed citizen.
On my Facebook page for school board, I do post the agenda, and if there is a hot topic item, as you know, in this state, you know, they're wanting to circumvent so many things, and they want to put parameters in place for so many things, and let's have armed people on every campus, and let's have pastors in the chaplains in the schools instead of counselors. We don't want any of that. So if that ever has to come to a vote, I would like to inform you, Michelle, and you let our congregation know so they could sign up and use their 3 minutes. At this point in time, all 7 of us are on the same page. But of course, who comes to those school board meetings? Last year, we had about, 9 from the Moms from Liberty, Ladies of Liberty, to talk about CRT and this, that, and the other things, which are non-issues. And so when they would come, you know, we would listen to them, didn't say a word. The next time there was 3 of them. Now we have Barbara, who comes every month, but she likes me and gives me a hug. So I think she's just monitoring us to make sure we're not stepping out of our lane. But we don't want all the book banning. The people who are telling us to, well, and not in Georgetown, but the people who are saying, you know, take those books off the shelves, they read those books when they were in high school. That's how they graduated. They had to read them. So we've only had one parent in the last 2 years ask for a book to be taken off, and per our policies and procedures, the principal took the book, read the book, told the person I'm putting it back on the shelf, and that was the end of it. So hopefully this does not snowball, but I will let Michelle know if there is ever a hot topic.
One more thing. And then Clara's got a question. Okay. What?
Did you get to your Facebook page by typing in Stephanie Blanck?
And school board. Add school board.
At school board.
No, not at school board. Just with Stephanie Blanck. You should find my personal one, but Stephanie Blanck plays for GISD school board.
One other thing is that the new superintendent has committed to hold parent meetings and community meetings. I would encourage you to go and listen to him, and so that you can be a part of that decision-making process, because he is a listener and a communicator. And again, I think we can communicate with Michelle and Lou about the opportunities for you to attend a meeting and find out what this man is about and what's going on in our district.
He also indicated that he has seen the data from Wagner, because someone I know might have given it to him. But he said that he was going to be spending a lot of time there trying to figure it out.